Cool. So little introduction first is just that my name is Dana DeSantis. I'm a senior SAEM student. You may know me just from Pioneer Records, SAEM Club, all that good stuff. We're talking with Louis Spanos, who graduated in 2017 and is currently a social media specialist at GNC. And then we have Kara Sayers, who graduated in 2020 and is a social media and digital marketing manager for PLB Sports and Entertainment. Just some ground rules. If everybody can turn on their videos, that would be nice to see some faces. And then also the reaction tabs are below if you would like to raise your hand and ask a question at any point. We will also ask at the end just in case you have any more questions. So if we want to get started with the basics, I also have some knowledge on influencer marketing. If you don't know what it is, it's a form of social media marketing that involves some endorsements and product placements from people or organizations who have some social impact. So if you think of Bang Energy on TikTok or like Function of Beauty on YouTube, that's influencer marketing. So Kara, since your PowerPoint's up, if you want to begin with just your background, what you do, your favorite parts of what you do, that kind of thing, in your PowerPoint, that'd be cool.
All right, yeah, thank you, Dana. I'm happy to be here, discuss it's kind of a short experience right now with PLB, but Miranda, if you just want to go down a little bit to the second slide. Just a little bit about me. I'm from DuBois, PA. It's about 2 hours away. Like Dana said, I graduated last April, so it hasn't been a year yet, but it's coming up. And then I'm currently with PLB Sports and Entertainment, where we create unique food brands for athletes and entertainers, just right now nationally. Then if you go down a little bit, Miranda, there's some pictures of our current programs, past programs. With Aaron Jones, we did part of my Flakes with Barstool. It's their biggest podcast. Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Flutie Flakes is kind of what set PLB up for success in, I believe, 1998 with our President Ty. Jumpin' Juju's Crunch, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And then currently we have Tyler Hero's Fruit Hoops. So these are like unique products to the athlete. Yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I'm excited to hear from Louis and everyone on this panel.
Yeah, so Louis, if you have a little bit of your background as well, and you'd like to share that, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. Thanks everyone for having me. I'm Louis Spanos. I'm a social media specialist at GNC. GNC is General Nutrition Centers. We're based here in Pittsburgh. We started here about 85 some years ago, believe it or not. We're Pittsburgh based, Pittsburgh born, all that good jazz. And as a social media specialist, I do a little bit of everything from content creation to strategy to execution and just reporting. And that includes doing some influencer stuff. So I've been able to do some really cool stuff with anything from nano influencers, which are like super small followings, like what you or I would have like as a standard person, all the way up to mega. And we can talk about some of those opportunities in a little bit.
Yeah, so I figured that we would just swap from who goes first and who goes second. So Louis, this one's going to be for you for starting, and then we're going to go to Kara. So since we have students here, could you go over, I guess, how you got the position that you are in and how long it took and the transition from going from 4 years in college to working in this intimidating workforce?
Yeah, of course. First things first, just want to say I probably wouldn't be where I am without the SAEM program. I know every professor's gonna be happy to hear that one, but Point Park is really good in like prioritizing experience. So I honestly don't think I would be where I am without it. I don't think Kara would be where she is without it. Like I think anyone who's been like an SAEM specifically could say that. But while I was in college, I was on CAB, woo woo. I ended as like VP of programming. And so just that kind of professional experience on campus kind of helped me. But in addition to that, my journey started with an internship with Blender, which is like a smaller local agency. And that opportunity came about from digital marketing with Paige. And that was a really good internship in summer of 2016. I learned a little bit of everything, did a little bit more social media, started honing those skills. And then that opportunity led into an internship with Mark USA, which is now known as Seven Rooftops, as their PR/social media intern. And then that eventually turned into an apprenticeship for a few months. And my big experience there was being like kind of acting community manager for Rite Aid. So I ran like post publishing, and then I just kind of did general like community management, responding to people, all that fun stuff. And then from there, I got a job at WordWrite, which is another local PR agency. They're more like business to business focused, but they did have some like business to consumer, which was like the Waterfront, Kennywood, like accounts like those, as well as some nonprofits like Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, Best Robotics, stuff like that. And so while I was there, I learned PR, which I think is really important if you're working in social media, because you need to know how to be able to think about how a response could be received by the general public. So that was really good work. And then while I was there, learned that PR, but I also helped grow the agency's social media offerings. And then that led into GNC in August of 2019. And I've been here about 2 years, give or take. So
Yay. Cool. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've been in a lot of different positions.
Yeah.
Kara, what was the question? What got
Yeah.
your decision, that kind of thing?
I completely agree with Lewis. I would not be in my position without the SAM program, because actually how I got this position was through connecting with a guest speaker in one of my classes senior year. And he is currently my coworker. So without that class and networking, I wouldn't be here. But a little bit about my experience, like at Point Park and my internships. I was a marketing and promotions intern for the Riverhounds in the summer of 2019. That was really great. I got to learn a lot about marketing, but also a lot about like just like the soccer operations, and I got to meet a lot of great people. And then I believe it was in the fall of 2019, I was an intern for the Penguins in media relations. That was also very great because it was completely different from what I did at the Riverhounds. So I got to learn even more. And before my internship with the Penguins, I had no idea what media relations was, and it's completely different from what I'm doing now, which is social media and digital marketing. And then the Penguins hired me on like part-time in 2020, but then everything happened with like COVID and shutting down games. So like interns, part-time staff were not needed. And then the summer of 2021, I interned here at PLBSE as just like a digital marketing intern. Sorry, this light keeps going off. Yeah. I did a lot of like digital marketing, just like a lot of random stuff. Sorry about that.
You're good.
And then they hired me full time in like September or October of last year. So I've only been in my role for about like 6 months, maybe 5. But yeah, I just do a lot with social media, just kind of take every day as it comes. I'm still learning every day about, content, learning from my coworkers. But yeah, it's my experience.
It's great you got a position right out of college too. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm very fortunate.
Yes. So this one goes to Kara. Do you have any advice for what companies are looking for right now in resumes, LinkedIn profiles, portfolios, that kind of thing? We know that technology is like really important right now since we're all stuck in our homes.
Yeah.
Softwares, new platforms, kind of thing.
Like I said, I haven't been in this position or removed from school for like very long. So I can't think of one specific thing, but I would say like anything you can offer that's not on paper, whether that be like creative thinking or just like your confidence, which I'm still working on, just being open-minded to learning everything and anything. I work in Canva a lot, but I'm expanding into like Photoshop and stuff for content. So I would say just like a general knowledge of Canva and just being open to learning anything.
Yeah, I'm working on that too because I grew up on Canva and we really need to know Photoshop. Lewis, what do you think? You're nodding your head.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say, like, obviously being able to speak to people, being a little bit more, being like confident in any way, shape, or form, but knowing Photoshop and like anything in Adobe Suite is super valuable. Like I took a class in Photoshop in college. It was like my last semester, and it was like not in my major. So I paid attention, but like it wasn't like something that was like a major focus for me. And I just like, I literally was even in the shower like this week. I was like, God, I wish I had known a little bit more, wish I'd taken some more graphic design courses, because even now at GNC, like we're like a constant conversation is like, God, I wish we had someone who was like an actual designer on our team, because I can play around with something on my phone, like, and even being able to play around with mobile Photoshop, like whether it's like Photoshop Mix or Photoshop Fix, beautiful, you're already ahead of the game there. But like being able to use like actual Adobe Suite would be so helpful and is so useful. And then just kind of being fluent in social media. Like I know that's kind of like a duh, but it would blow your mind how if you're in social media and you're like, oh, I think this is common knowledge, it would kind of amaze you like how people don't know it. Like I know that sounds like I'm speaking another language, but like just being able to stay on top of the trends and know what's going on is extremely important. Not even from like an algorithm standpoint, but like just from a cultural standpoint, from like a trend standpoint. Like since I've been at GNC, I've made it a point to try and expand like all the culture I take in, just so that way I can be a little bit more fluent in what's going on. But there are still some things that I just don't know. So if you're able to fill in any of those holes, learn it and like know it, because that'll be extremely useful.
Yeah, I have a terrible time keeping up with trends now that TikTok has surfaced and everything is changing so fast. And I feel so
I
old.
know,
Too.
I
And
know. I keep trying to go on TikTok and I'm like, wait, what's this one?
I don't know
Just
anymore.
as I look ancient now, but
Yes. So more influencer marketing based questions. Lewis, this one is yours. First, you both have obviously worked with influencers before, but what was the creation process like and how did it work out? Did you work one-on-one with these people or was it like their team? What was it like?
so I had there was one example I had a few months ago that was like super cool, but is like fully not the standard process at all. But I'm still going to talk about it because it was just cool for me on a personal level. So a few months ago, Megan the Stallion started some like hottie boot camp thing on Instagram and YouTube as like a fitness type of deal. Like I'm going on a body transformation journey, not trying to lose weight or anything. I just want to get back in performance shape. Me, being the stan I am, was like, oh my God, switch to the GNC account. And yes, it was very cool. Thank you, Maddie. I get points. I like instantly went immediately into the DMs, like a weirdo from GNC. And I was like, hi, love this. Would love to send you some product to keep you fueled. And then I sent the screenshot to my manager, like, LOL, wouldn't this be funny if it happened? And she said I would die. That was a Saturday at like noon to Sunday at 10:30 at night. I'm ancient, so I'm literally about to go to bed. Get a DM back. She said, yes, please call my manager, Sam. I fell over.
I was gonna say I would too.
So yeah, so that was wild. So we worked. So then the next day, my manager and I got on a call with her manager. We talked through and we're like, we'd love to send some products. Whatever, we're not trying to make this a major thing. We just really love what this looks like. If we love Megan, we just want to give you stuff.
Yes.
To be honest. And they were like, cool, here's where you can send it. And I pulled a big old order, sent it her way, and we got 2-frame Instagram stories out of it, which was a major win. And then so we did that, sent it her way. She tagged us in it and everything. And it was great. It was literally everything you could ask for. and the stories from someone, especially for no payment other than just sending product. And then she ended up putting it in a few of the Hottie boot camps moving forward as kind of like Mike Wazowski in Monsters Inc., where like he's hidden behind the O.
Nice.
That's like all I can like think of like how to explain it with, because I would just like, look, there we are. Like I would spot a product in like 5 of the videos or so from there, and I would just screenshot it and send it every time. And I think like our estimated, because I did like estimated media value on it just to like prove the investment, and I think we ended up around like 200,000
That's wild.
media value just from the placements, and that was only on Instagram. She also put those videos on YouTube, so that's like cool.
Yeah.
And those videos got a good amount of traction and views, so that was really exciting. But for this is like super rare scenario for influencer. It's usually way more in depth, way more like talking to managers, actual business meetings. But for this one, honestly, the main thing I would suggest for influencers, like whether it's someone super small, someone super huge, whatever, just make sure it makes sense. Because if I were to go to like, I'm trying to like think off the top of my head, like an Oprah, and I was like, hi, I have this pre-workout. We would love for you to put in your favorite things. Why would Oprah be talking about a pre-workout? Like, I know that's like a really extreme example, but just make sure like who you're reaching out to makes sense, because if it doesn't, and even if the deal does go through and you start doing it, their fans will see through it, your fans will see through it. So just make sure the alignments make sense. And then for that media value, I use like an online tool. There was like, I can't remember what the tool was called, but I literally Googled like how to estimate media value based on handle, and like it was just like this online tool. All I did was like plug in like the handle. So I just plugged in Megan Thee Stallion, and it just like pulled it there. So that's how I did that. It wasn't anything like super thought out and thorough, but like it was enough to be like an estimate.
Yeah.
Type of value.
Yeah, that's wild that she just did that for no money. Congrats. That's crazy.
We did send a lot of products, and they were like, wow, you guys sent a lot of product. And you're like, you sent a full house of people.
Yeah, we just really wanted you to use it.
Yeah.
Kara, we know that you've worked with a lot of athletes, obviously, with your cereals and stuff. What was your experience like working with them?
Yeah, so I'll talk about Juju, it's just like a local guy. Whenever I was like interning and hired, the ball was already kind of rolling with this program, so we were like in the middle of it. Before launch, I think it was like in the summer, we did like a photo shoot right outside of Giant Eagle to capture like a lot of great video photos, so that he can use and that we can use for our socials. We also created these like influencer boxes, we called them. So it had like a box of his cereal, then a custom bowl with his dog Bougie in it, which is so cute, and then like a little metal spoon. And then we would send those out to all of his friends, like his high profile friends, like OBJ, and like I don't even know who else was on the list. But and then once those started to arrive, we would keep tabs on everyone that we sent them to see if they like supported it. He gave them to all of his teammates of the Steelers. They really supported it. So that was great just to like generate a bunch of buzz. And then kind of what Lewis was saying, I just DM like fan accounts, because there's a lot of Juju fan accounts, Steeler fan accounts, and they're more than willing. Like I would just send them a box or two of the product, and then they're just willing to post it on their story for the love of Juju or like the Steelers. So at PLBSE, we haven't yet really dove into like paying for like support or anything, but I think in the future we'll get there once we kind of like establish ourselves more. But yeah, working with Juju was great, and I really think I think they're just like the micro influencers are really good, just to reach like specific targets of people who love Juju.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Noah's question kind of ties in with yours, what you were saying. When you reach out to someone for a certain product, let's say G Fuel, you would want to reach out on Twitch stream or an esports team. I guess, like, what's the best outlet for that kind of, if you were
I
to promote G Fuel?
If it's like a Twitch streamer, I think that would make sense, as well as like an esports team. The channel doesn't really matter how you reach out. I would do it like through a DM either way. I've worked with a few people on TikTok who'll just post something from GNC and be like, oh my God, I love this. And I'll just, if they have an Instagram, it's way easier for me personally just to go through Instagram, because since it has like all the Facebook connects, it just is like much more of a natural platform to do that messaging through. But I would say G Fuel for like someone like who's a Twitch streamer or an esports team makes total sense. We like kind of jumping off of Kara's point, like for a lot of stuff, it's sending product, just like sending product is kind of the payment in exchange for posting. We have a few people we work with in a paid capacity as influencers, and that's like more of like an ambassador thing, which is almost semantics at that point. But someone we worked with was Jordan Marin last year, and he's like a huge Minecraft person. So I would say sending G Fuel to someone like him makes total sense. Because we worked with him for the one pre-workout brand that we have, and he loved it. And I think that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kara, do you have anything to add on to that for Noah? Anything?
I guess like reaching out to like celebrities or athletes, it just goes through, like if we want to create a product with them, we have to go through their like marketing management team. Like for Juju, his mom does all of his marketing deals and stuff, but his like football contract is through Rock Nation. So it's sometimes tricky to find like their marketing people compared to like their contract people. But yeah, it goes through all of their team.
Yeah, that can definitely be confusing. I remember doing a presentation. Me and a friend did JoJo Siwa for a live events thing, and we had to figure out like who to contact, and it's sometimes impossible to do that. I know that we've kind of already talked about the next question. How much does it cost to work with influencers, big and small? I know Lewis said that you just kind of Googled the media value, but Kara, do you have any other ways of figuring out that kind of situation?
Yeah, like I said, we haven't really dove into like paying for influencer posts, but we pay like our athletes or entertainers by our sales basically. So they get a portion of what we sell to retail, and then also what we sell through e-commerce. So it's all written in the contract that, you know, we would like 3 posts, one of which being static. So we don't necessarily pay them for the posts. We pay them just through our sales and stuff like that.
Cool. Lewis, do you do the same?
Yeah, I would say it's like kind of that's how we do it. Like basically if you send someone product, it's like fingers crossed they'll send it. Sometimes we'll do something in a more formal manner. We're working on rolling out a more formal, like small scale influencer, not like necessarily like the Jordan Marins, the Megan Thee Stallions, the Jujus, if you will, like something that's like more like small scale, like that cool girl in class or whatever. So we're working on something like that. And a lot of the times that payment is just sending the product. And then you have the agreements that says, okay, if we send you this product, you do X, Y, or Z posts, and then you hit these 3 messaging points. That's how that works. But for some people, you definitely do more of like a paid type of thing, like for like the Jordan Marin thing I mentioned earlier, or even with Juju, you like that payment is through the sales. There's going to be more of like a back end there, and it kind of really depends on how big their celebrity is, how much it makes sense. And so it's kind of like a back and forth. But I would say for small scale, it's pretty much just the product cost, like just sending them the product. But then like once you hit like a certain threshold, you do start getting into paying on top of sending the product.
Do you have any like recollection of what that like barrier is of how big they have?
I would say once you probably start hitting like the 500,000 range, if you want to work with someone in a more expanded capacity, like say, if anyone, I'm trying to like for using the esports example, if someone says they're fueled by G Fuel, there's probably a paid component there. At the same time, if you send them products that don't interfere with that contract, who are they to not just like post about it like once or twice, just like offhand? A lot of times that's how people kind of test out those partnerships is just by sending like like for example, if I were to send a popular rapper a lot of product, that would be testing the grounds, testing the waters to see would a partnership there work. Is that something they're interested in? Does that something that makes sense with their brand moving forward? Like, so a lot of times, like the product sending, even at that higher level, is on a freer scale just to like test to see, like, do they even like it? So, yeah, so it kind of like fluctuates once you kind of hit like 300,000, 400,000,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good. I gotcha. I do want to grab these questions though because I don't want to skip anybody. But what other ways do you use to contact celebrities and influencers? Kind of went over that, just DMing mostly. Maybe going through email sometimes if it's like a manager situation.
For sure, yeah.
Um, Hearing on amazing stories. How your career started, how might SAM benefit from including social media into their everyday lives? Also, could we influence others through social media? So should we be active on social media, kind of? Thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, so for social media, my coworker Troy's always telling me content, 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 whatever it is. Like we're like a content company, but also we're trying to sell product. So you need to find a balance of like just having fun content out there, like asking questions, just like funny stuff, but also being like buy our cereal because we want to also make money. So it's just finding that balance. I guess how to like influence others through social media is through that content, like having good, funny content, knowing your brand. Like if your brand is like very like strict or like just informational, you stick to that content. But if you want to be like interactive and fun, that's the content you create.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I hear a lot about like the 80-20 rule of just not selling, maybe selling
Yeah,
on like 20% on your platforms and
yeah,
then 80% just being active and
yeah.
talking.
Because people will get sick of it if I'm always like buy our cereal, go to our website, buy our cereal. So
Yeah,
you
you're
want to
like,
mix in some fun stuff too. Yeah.
that makes sense. Lewis, any
For
comments?
sure. I would just say, kind of bouncing off that, being active on social as someone who works in social is probably important. I'm not saying you have to be like a large scale influencer or anything, but kind of some like going back to like a previous point about like what we look for, I definitely look to see if someone has an active social presence because I'm not looking for someone who's posting every day on the hour by the hour and is like on every single trend possible, but I'm looking for someone who is relatively fluent in what they're interested in. Like, again, I'm not asking for some like super polished, like professionally edited video or anything.
Yeah,
Just, but if you're going to be on social media, like be active, especially if it's what you want to work in. But don't treat it like it's a job. Like if you're going to be in social, you're going to need to like being in social.
yeah, that
Like
sounds good.
that, I know that's like a do what you love, but like you need to like social media because you're going to get like just being full honesty, like you're going to get with it
Yeah,
at some point or another. So you need to like demonstrate that you're actually someone who likes it.
yeah, and just make it fun for
I
yourself.
know that sound, yeah, like you're gonna need to be someone who's like, oh, I actually do like social media. Like, and and to influence people, just like post and just be like, hey, I like this. And it could be simple as, oh, I went to Bebe's kitchen today. Here's my bubble tea. Like that can be all you need to do.
Yes. I
Gotcha,
stand
Dana.
yes.
But yeah, it can be as simple as that.
Yeah, just being on it and enjoying your time with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think Gianna, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm bad with names. How do you choose what celebrities you'd like to represent with your company? Liz, if you want to take this one first.
We honestly, we work with an agency to try to find a good amount of our influencers, but it's also just doing the research on our own. Like to make sure someone's a fit, honestly, it's just going through their social media. Like it's honestly, this is one of my favorite things to do is whenever we're finding influencers is just like deep diving into someone's Instagram, their Twitter, their Facebook, and being like, what are they into? And just rolling. So that's honestly how you do it. Like you do a little bit of Googling just to make sure there's like no red flags anywhere. I keep thinking like there was someone we almost brought on board for like our paid ambassador tier last year. And they're like an influencer, but now they're like on a reality show as like a featured character. And I just keep watching it because it's a show I watch naturally. And I saw her come on and I was like, wait a second. And she is completely different than what we were sold to her on. And I just keep thinking like, we dodged a bullet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to do the research to make sure like you don't like get caught in the crosshairs. Because like honestly, we've run into that a little bit. Sometimes we're like, you don't think someone would be how someone feels would be an issue, and then something does happen. Heard that, Aaron?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, it is. So just doing your research is really key.
Yeah. Kara, you have any?
Yeah, with us, it's very similar, just kind of finding like an unproblematic person. I mean, you can't tell the future, like anything can happen, but so like just a good person, active on socials. We also make it a big point to have like a charity or foundation component where like a percent of sales go to. And also the market, like if the market's good, sports market, retail market. So like Juju is a perfect example. He's a great guy. He has his own foundation where all of his proceeds went to. And also the Pittsburgh market is great with like retailers, Giant Eagle, but also the Steelers fans are pretty crazy. So it's just kind of all worked out with him.
Yeah, Juju Smith is an awesome guy. I've
Mhm.
a lot about him. He does a
Yeah.
lot of stuff for charity. Katie says, when creating a partnership with an influencer, do you like them to be honest about their thoughts and about the product, even if they don't prefer it? And then are they being paid to agree with a company or product and paid to share their opinion, kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Whenever we're starting out partnerships, we always get the feedback from the athlete, like what product do you want to do? Like we do stuff outside of cereal, but that's our main. So we're like, what's your favorite cereal? We send them samples of what we have, and then they have full say on like what they want to do, kind of what they want their box to look like, the design. So everything we don't force it on them. So they like aren't getting paid to agree with us because they picked it out. So like with Juju, I always go back to him. His favorite cereal is Captain Crunch. So his Jumpin' Juju's Crunch is basically Captain Crunch, just like slightly off. But yeah, they have complete say in what products they want.
That's awesome. I always feel scared to like take
Yeah.
recommendation from somebody.
Mhm.
So that's really
Right.
good to know. Liz, what are your thoughts?
I agree 100%. So with us, we already have the products. So that kind of goes back to my point from a little bit earlier, being like, we'd love to partner with someone, but if they don't like the products, what's the point? I know there are companies that have done partnerships that their influencer might not like the product as much. The one thing I keep thinking about, like I remember this like dumb news story from 2000, because surprise, influencer marketing is older than social media. It's just spokespeople rebranded. Britney Spears did like this huge Pepsi campaign, and then she was photographed like drinking a Diet Coke or something. And it was like this huge thing. Like it's something like that. And like, so it's, you don't want those situations to happen. So when you create those partnerships, it's best to have them try the product first and make sure they actually like it. So you don't run into that drinking a Diet Coke when you're a Pepsi gladiator.
Yeah, that'd be awkward.
Exactly. And even if we come out with new products and we want people to talk to something, they just don't like it, we don't force them into it. Because we've had like several situations where we have new products come out. We're like, hey, we'd love this person to talk to this. And they're like, they did not like it at all. We're like, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Not everything's for everyone. So our personal mantra is to not force it, but I know other companies do. But
Yeah.
if they do start using a product and they are under contract, I would love for them to not say this sucks after saying they like it and going through the whole payment thing. But that's like a super rare instance, you know?
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
Like bang energy everywhere, and I don't know if I should like believe people or if it's just they have a lot of money to do marketing, or I'm not sure.
I'm gonna go with the second one.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Personal opinion, but
Who knows?
Yeah.
Paige Bill asked, do you think that the pandemic influenced the amount of influencer marketing being done? I would personally say yes.
yes.
Yeah. You can
Go
I
ahead, Lewis.
Cool. Yes, 100%. And this is so obvious with like stuff like Vital Proteins. Vital Proteins brought on Jennifer Aniston as their chief creative officer, director, or something. I don't know the specific title. She does have an actual say in how the stuff works. We work with Vital Proteins, but that is 100% an influencer play. And you're going to keep seeing stuff like this pop up. And this is going to be another like dumb, super like specific pop culture reference. But if anyone follows Dumois on Instagram, you'll remember it's like some weird like, it's basically TMZ before TMZ like lost the cool factor.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of blind item stuff for celebrities. But they'll talk about stuff like, people will be like, yeah, there's going to be a lot more influencer stuff coming up because people need the paychecks. It's basically, again, influencers, spokespeople rebranded for social media.
Pretty much. Kara, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I completely agree
Yeah.
with Lewis.
Yeah, the pandemic's kind of increased all of that.
Yeah,
Since
for
we're all
sure.
online now. And then Robert Durda, he asked Kara, if a player gets traded, does it change the partnership with him or her?
Yeah, so we didn't run into that anything with like this past season, but we're kind of in the spot now where it's free agency and Juju most likely isn't going to stay in Pittsburgh. So his product will kind of just, I guess, like die. Like we won't really do much with it. And then similar with Aaron Jones, we weren't sure if he was going to stay in Wisconsin, but he did. He just signed a big deal. So that's great for us. We can continue to sell his product. We might do like a second thing with him, but yeah, that's always kind of like on our minds, like what happens like if this player gets hurt or what happens if they get traded. It just kind of throws a wrench into our plans and our products.
Yeah, that's a rough situation to be in. Maddie asked, when influencers get brought on, is it a certain period of time or posts, or is it more like an official spokesperson for as long as they would like? Whoever wants to take it first.
Go ahead, Lewis.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so typically with our athletes, it's like the first few months and then they're really into the season. So it's hard to be like, hey, can you post this or can you do this? So a lot of it is the first couple months of launch, and then it's on us to kind of keep the ball rolling, keep the interest. yeah, so basically from the launch and then a few months after.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Lewis, what are yours like?
I would say it's pretty much like a period of time, and then within that time period, you have X amount of posts. And that's for more of like that paid ambassador type of deal for us. Whenever it's like someone we just send product to, like just be like, hey, oh my God, we love this. It's basically like a one and done
Okay.
for the most part. With this, we're bringing on a newer program to like kind of help us like scale up like smaller quote unquote influencers, and that's going to be like a one and done as well, but it might be like a feed post and then 2 to 3 stories post as well.
How many like for your ambassadors program, how many posts do they have to do, or like stories do they have to put up?
Or for the paid end?
Yeah.
Or
Either
for the
one.
okay. For the paid end that are like the bigger tier, so like kind of like the Jordan Marins, the make squats if anyone is like a fit person. It's more, I would say it's a certain amount of posts per quarter. I would say it's like, I don't know, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I want to say it's at least 24 feed posts and then 2 to 3 stories to support that feed post per month. So like 1 or 2 feed posts a month, and then they post 2 or 3 stories to support that. Then sometimes you just use stories independently, but for the most part, stories are at least 2 to 3 frames. And then sometimes they're longer if it's like something that's like a really in-depth story. Like we worked with someone, Sean Booth from The Bachelor. He did like a lot of longer like stories. They would be like 6 or 7 frames, just because it was just like that would be all the post was, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that I've never heard of, like, or at least paid attention to how many posts people are making. So that's wild. I would have thought like 6. So that's a lot more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's where like that paid aspect comes in, because it is definitely more of like a spokesperson type of deal, because like you have to line up to this, and this, and you have like X things to speak to. So that's why it's more of like that paid type of deal.
Kara, I don't know if you talked about how many posts yours have to put up, or if it
We
matters.
do a very small amount since it's like not paid. Usually it's like we ask for 5 and we're happy if we get like 3, but then we can also just go back if we have a good relationship with the agent, be like, hey, can you please ask him to like support our post or to like retweet something. So it's always kind of up in the air, but yeah, it's definitely not 24.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds a lot more than what I
Yeah.
was thinking, but that's not paid, so that makes sense. Shelby asked, aside from scrolling through social media and keeping up with the trends, are there any other ways to continue to develop yourself as a professional? Whoever wants to take it, I forget who started last time.
I can go. I'm gonna be honest, I struggle with like continuing to develop professionally. I feel like it's just like an ongoing thing. So I'm always trying to like read articles, scroll through LinkedIn, connect with people, um, just really anything I can do outside of social media. Like I said, talking to like my coworkers about their experiences and just asking questions along the way is very helpful.
Lewis, what are your thoughts?
I would agree. Pretty much just basically articles. I try to do webinars and stuff like that. It's just the past year has just been everything thrown up in the air, and like you kind of hope for the best. So I'm starting to get back on track with like doing some more professional development stuff like webinars, and just stuff that I have access to as being part of being at GNC, which is like a bigger corporation. And so with bigger corporation, you have bigger resources, which is something I'm grateful for. Because there was one webinar I sat in like a month ago, and it was like only a half hour, and it was by this company called Silas that does like trend tracking, and it was just so interesting. but just like being able to like sit in on that was just like mind burst in and
Yeah.
of itself.
Yeah, I have a selfish question. I know there's a lot of other questions, but how do you guys navigate like networking, like webinars and things? I feel very intimidated by them as a student, and there's all these professionals. I don't know how you go in and just like, I don't know, like how do you navigate being professional at one of those like networking big conferences?
Mhm. Go ahead, Lewis.
Oh God. Yeah. Shrug. I would say just basically just talk when you think it makes sense for you to talk. If you're virtual is so weird. I would say if you don't get the opportunity to speak to someone directly, just connect with them on LinkedIn, send them a message, be like, hey, I went to X, Y, or Z thing with you, and I really liked what you said about this. If you have time, I'd love to poke your brain a little bit more about this for virtual coffee or even just like email back and forth. Just want to learn more.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Mhm.
Never thought of that, so- Yeah, Kara?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely wouldn't put so much pressure on like always having to like ask a question like in person because I
Mhm.
never did that because I was too afraid. But I would always reach out to them via LinkedIn, send them a nice little note. That's how I connected with Troy, who I work with now. So definitely LinkedIn and just like a message is very helpful.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Um,
Mhm.
Maddie Sedbury says, Lewis, when you say smaller influencers, what do they look like to GNC, age, follow count, demographic of followers, that kind of thing?
I would say follow count, like just name of micro. So like anyone between 1,000 or less to like 15, 20K. But those people are still really valuable in terms of like influencer marketing. And like we can get to that point in a little bit because I know you have that one ready to rumble.
Yeah, I'm just trying to fit it all in by 10:50, but I want to get to the questions first. But
Yeah.
my my family is having the house cleaned, so if you hear I don't know if you can hear like a carpet cleaning.
The joys of working from home.
I'll try and get that fixed. But Katie says, wait, did I ask? No. Okay, wait. I lost my train of thought. Katie asks, do you think that having influencers like YouTubers and TikTokers is just a effective real celebrity marketing? I'm gonna go and get my carpet cleaned and fixed, and whoever wants to take that.
Yeah, 100% YouTube and TikTok they're huge. Like they're for some people they're bigger than the other social media platforms. Like you can't go a day without seeing a new trend from TikTok, like Lewis said, or um yeah, they're huge. Like Addison Rae, Charlie D'Amelio, they're as big as like these world famous athletes or celebrities. So 100%.
One hundo. Agree. Honestly, we see better response whenever we post quote unquote influencers as opposed to like a real celebrity.
Hmm.
Um, just like thinking back on an example, we did a launch from a brand and an influencer on a Tuesday or Thursday, blew up our social. Like it was amazing, like got a ton of followers out of it. Then 2 days later, we launched a celebrity brand and our sentiment went in the toilet and we lost followers. From a real, like a legitimate celebrity that's like a big name. I'm not going to name because I don't want to get in trouble, even though I don't think I would. I'm just paranoid. But I'll message you guys later. It, yeah, 100%. I think YouTubers and TikToks are just as effective, if not more effective, if the audience is right.
Right.
Nice. I missed some of it, but I got the end of it,
Hmm.
which Ashley said, as social media endorsements, sponsorships become more common, do you have any concerns about the oversaturation of the field and standing out from the noise to be authentic yet effective? Whoever wants to take it.
Go ahead,
That
Lewis.
me? Okay. It's my personal nightmare. Um, joke, but kind of not. I would say definitely, like, I don't think we're at the bubble bursting point yet, but we're definitely getting to a point where there's like more influencers for literally anything you can think of. Um, like my mom has like an embroidery business for bearded dragons, like literally lizards, and there's influencers for that.
That's
There are
interesting.
influencers for lizard blankets, apparently. So you name it, it's there. So so going back to the point of making sure the audience of the influencer you're working with makes sense and connects is more important than ever, because thinking about like Dunkin' Donuts with the Charlie drink, like that made sense because she was drinking Dunkin' like crazy. Like, of course they're going to do a drink with her. It was natural. It made sense. That's the reason why the Megan thing for us worked out so well, is because she was doing it to begin with. We're like, oh, you're doing 2 or 3 a day workouts. Here's some pre-workout so you don't fall over. Like, you need to make sure the product alignment makes sense with the influencer.
Yeah, that makes
Mhm.
sense. I remember David Dobrik was like one of the first ones to like really master that, and just like
Mm-hmm.
he was doing, he would just call them up and be like, give me your product. um but yeah, Cara, what do you think about that
Yeah,
oversaturation?
just like echoing what Lewis said, there's definitely like that fear, I guess, and then a lot of pressure on creating like creative content and like something out of the box that like 10 other companies haven't already done. And I feel fortunate at PLBSC that we have like a completely unique product rather than like Wheaties can put LeBron on their product, but we're creating like Juju's own cereal rather than putting him on like a Frosted Flakes. So I think that we do a good job standing out and trying to like establish us in the market.
Yeah, your products are awesome. I looked at the
Yeah,
website
thank
for like
you.
2 seconds and I was like, that's cool. Like I
Yeah,
want my
thanks.
own cereal. um
Mhm.
we did Ashley. Cody says, so when this is sports management, it sounds like advertising with athletes. I'm looking to hopefully get into the wrestling business, maybe backstage management of some sort. So is this more of a marketing thing? Car, maybe take one.
Um, it sounds like, I guess I'm not too sure, but it sounds like more like ops. I'm not too sure if like they want to work with like wrestling, like influencers or anything, but yeah, just like the backstage and the management of wrestlers could be marketing, but it could also be, like I said, like contract specific, like legal stuff. So I
Yeah,
guess just like defining how you want to work with the athletes.
yeah, Cody, if you have any more like detail on what you're specifically looking for, let us know. um I still have a few questions if nobody else does.
Um, I can respond to Cody a little bit
Yeah,
too.
go.
I
Yep.
would say it's more of a marketing thing, but it still has to do with like, if you want to like be managing like the wrestlers themselves, I think this is still part of that management role. Because
Mhm.
when we worked with Megan, we worked with her manager. Like, it wasn't her marketing person, it was her manager. And then we got on the phone with like her managers and then like the brand team.
I
But
fucking hate this.
as the manager, you need to make sure you're in charge of everything going on and like seeing like 360. So like making sure you're kind of like taking account for like, okay, so you have this deal here. Is it going to interfere with anything else they're doing? Like, does this affect their brand? So it's definitely more of a marketing thing, but as a manager, I would definitely say this is something that would still align because you'll be on the other end of it. While Kara and I are like the brands, you're managing the talent.
Yeah,
There's fully like another side to like see like how it works as the talent on the other end, if that makes sense.
yeah, I think it does, unless Cody has anything else to say or wants to say anything else. Yeah, I believe that. If anybody, there's no more questions to go over. Makes sense. Thanks. Cool. Um, I have on here, I don't know if we've went through any of these already through the other questions, but this next one says, do you feel that influencer marketing could break a barrier of ethical practices, since the influencer would maybe not be like fully involved into your product, which we kind of went already over about
Mhm.
having them really care about the product, which is cool. I don't know if anybody has more to say on that. But then another one is, what platforms do you think perform best with this sort of influencer marketing strategy? If it's TikTok or Instagram or anything that works on. I don't know if you've had any impact more on Instagram or other platforms before. Whoever wants to take that.
I can go. Like Lewis said, Instagram's I feel the best for like reaching out to people because it's like interconnected with Facebook. And I also think Instagram's just like great with the stories and just like posting pictures. You can do videos, you can do reels. um, but also TikTok is great. You just have to define like who's your customer base. Because if our customer base isn't Gen Z, TikTok doesn't make sense. Um, so yeah, I think Instagram's great because it reaches a lot of people, and I tend to see that the numbers for Instagram, like people have more followers on their Instagram compared to like Twitter or Facebook.
Mhm. I agree definitely, specifically with like the audience bit, because if you're trying to market something that's like a little bit older skewing to someone on TikTok, chances are they're probably not going to see it. I would say Instagram is like the easiest to work with just because it's been around the longest, but there is something to be said for the beauty and the glory of a TikTok video that is just because you can take a picture of a product and like even a short video for Instagram. But if you do a TikTok video, there's something about it just like hits different. And it's just like we like had like one of our products like go viral last month or something on TikTok, and it's just this girl screaming at the camera about how the pre-workout kept her up for like 3 hours like during a workout. um and it's nuts, but it's the best product marketing you could just someone screaming. Welcome to marketing. But so that type of thing is really great when you can get that going. So yeah, I like TikTok a lot. Honestly, I just need to get better at it. I think like GNC is a brand we're getting there. I also really like Twitch as like a gaming platform because it's just long form. And with Jordan Marin, one of the gaming influencers we worked with last year, he would just take like a can of like this like pre-workout that like I don't know I would game with, but more power to you. And he would just drink it and just go for hours like at Minecraft. And it did a lot for sentiment for us. And it just I would see comments all the time being like, I was like, I never thought I would see Jordan Marin with this, but lit or whatever. Like sounds cool. And it was just like, yes. And it's just like a really good natural way to integrate it, because if you're like on a 2, 3 hour, almost sometimes 4 hour like video stream, and you're just like casually drinking like a can of whatever it is, and they see you drink that, that's like it's so subtle and so subliminal. It's like the 7 hits type of messaging. Like with a billboard, you won't remember something until you see it 7 times or whatever. It's that, but like for social media, and I like it a lot. So
Yeah. Also with like video, you can actually see them interacting with the product,
exactly.
it just being sat there and
Uh-huh.
literally just be having it there but not using it at all.
Right.
Yeah, video is a great aspect to have. Paige asked, how is pricing determined? What is a good going rate for any influencer? I think we glossed over that kind of, but Lewis, if you want to expand upon anything.
Yeah, it really depends. Sometimes for people, if we're just like working with them in like an unofficial capacity, we'll send them like product and just let that be the payment. But we've also, as we try to work with more influencers, we started working with people that aren't necessarily as huge as like the Jordan Marin, the Make Squats, like anyone on that level. but like still pretty sizable audience, but are still newer to the game, like on TikTok, we'll reach out and say, hey, we'll send you product if you make X amount of videos at like a going rate of about like 1K-ish per video. So like 5K in total plus product. That's a recent estimate we gave someone. We're working with trainers right now, and I want to say it was probably in the similar ballpark, maybe a little bit more because they have like that professional like know-how and like are making actual workout content exclusively for us. So it really depends on the following size and then like also if there's specialty to what they're doing, like you would with like a freelance artist, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Kara, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, kind of like I said earlier, I don't have much experience because we don't technically pay for like these posts or anything. We just pay them through like our sales and stuff. And like for the fan accounts, I just send out the product. So it's just like the cost of shipping it out. So yeah, I don't have much experience with like paying for the support or the ads.
Yes. Maddie says, how would you suggest smaller influencers to reach out to a brand or get noticed?
I would go back to content, always putting out content, being true to like yourself through that content, and just like sliding into DMs, like what do you have to lose, messaging like someone about yourself. So yeah, I would just do that, stick to content and DMs.
I would say that plus like signing up for any of like the smaller like influencer platforms, like a vendor we're working with right now is Maverick, and we're going to be launching like quote unquote smaller scale influencer campaigns, just like sending product to people as payment in exchange for them posting content. Full honesty, I like signed up for it and I had research, wink, wink. And so I'm getting sent product to do for something, and just like getting that product and just rolling with it from there and just doing the content there. And as you work with more brands, they'll see you've worked with other brands and just like build up that portfolio. But signing up for like those platforms, Maverick's a really good one. They're going to do GNC. They have Bliss, they have Foot Locker, they have Express. I'm trying to think of any of the other ones. They have Milk Bar, which is like that bakery in New York City that's like starting to get distribution as like a CPG, consumer packaged good brand, and like Target and all that jazz. So I would sign up for Maverick. There are a few other platforms, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But sign up for Maverick. I think that I'm not sure how you can sign up for it just like in general, but I know I looked at Expresses. I like just Googled Express Ambassador and like clicked my way through to until I found like the sign up for Maverick and just go through that process. And once you sign up for that, you are like basically in the system for anyone who's looking for something. So your demographics are instantly loaded into the platform and they can search for you and you can get found that way.
Cool. A quick question about that. Do you guys just look at follower counts or do you look at like audience engagement on those like people's posts?
Oh, we definitely look at audience engagement.
Okay, yeah, just making sure.
Yeah, so that's a really good point because followers are important, but you also want to make sure someone's engaged and like their audience is engaged. And like honestly, like we'll do like search filters for influencers at X, Y, or Z. And we can just filter out like engagement rate at a certain level.
Yeah, that makes sense. Robert Durda says, are you ever concerned about losing your messaging using this platform and I think referring to Twitch?
No, because for me, if we're on something like a Twitch, I want that to be very subtle. Like it should be secondary to something, in my opinion. Like for me, the best content integrations are when it's supporting something they're already naturally doing. Like for example, like if Jordan is doing a Minecraft stream and we send him like the pre-workout or whatever, he's just using it to fuel up with. I don't need him to be talking to that every second of it because that's going to be really obvious. And that's not what we want. We personally like it to be a lot more subtle, want it to feel more natural. And obviously, I would love if he just had Beyond Raw plastered all over his face, but like the audience is going to see through that. So I like the more subtle type of integrations. Like something like that, like content that they're already doing. That's what I like to see. Like, and then it can like translate to anything like that. For example, if it's a drag queen doing a makeup video, like they just use like they do a full drag face using whatever makeup brand, like drugstore or whatever. That's a perfect integration. Like it's obvious it might be sponsored or not sponsored, but it makes sense for their channel. So just making sure the content lines up with what they're usually doing.
Yeah, subtle enough. Cara, what do you think?
Yeah, we don't use Twitch or anything, but I agree with like subtle placements and where it doesn't seem forced. So I agree with Lewis in that aspect.
Cool. We have a couple questions, but we only have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to try and get through them fast. Katie says, do you ever try and target smaller, more concentrated audiences? There are so many segments on Instagram and on platforms. Do you ever try and infiltrate those? Who wants to take that?
For us, whenever we like look for influencers or celebrities to work with, I would say no. Because we want kind of like I said, like a big market, a big name, just to kind of blow it up. But like for secondary stuff, like maybe like for supporting our product, we would go out to these like smaller audiences. But for right now, we're just focused kind of on like the big names.
Yeah, I would definitely say we try to go for anything that's a little bit more like as a support for product sense is where that infiltration quote unquote might come from. For example, like one of our products that we sell is really big with the gastric bypass community and like gastrointestinal bands. Like one of our products is huge there. So we try to keep an eye on that. And we'll send products to anyone who might have a bigger following within that community because it might be small, but it's extremely concentrated, like you said, or even Weight Watchers, like there again, it might be more of a niche type of audience, but one of the products we sell is like apparently like a holy grail because it's low in points, but great in flavor, quote unquote. But so we definitely kind of do try to like keep an eye on that. But it's also like you have to keep in mind, like, are you like, is the juice worth the squeeze there? Like for someone, like if you have like a huge breadth of products, yeah, you're probably going to want to go for some more targeting. But if you have something that's more specific, like you're doing a campaign for like a specific cereal, it probably will make more sense to go for like the bigger reach. And then like, if you can, for like the supporting.
Absolutely. Logan says, what ways on social media can you make sure to stay on trends and what not miss them? Thoughts?
I think Twitter is great for this. I feel like Twitter is always like up to date. I mean, trends come and go so fast usually, so it's easy to miss. So I would just say Twitter, and then also find like a few brands that you really like, whether it be like a sports team or just like a brand like GNC. Follow them, kind of always keep tabs on what they're doing. Look at the like what's trending on Twitter, just stuff like that. Always being aware of what's going on.
I agree.
Cool. Gianna says, what are some reasons you decide to you decide to stop working with celebrity or influencer?
Well, LOL. So have we in class, I'm sure at some point you'll go over a morality clause and is SAM legal still a thing? Steve, is that still a thing? I don't know if you teach anymore. I feel old and out of the loop, but I know when I had Steve, we talked about morality clauses. And if they did anything that was like unbecoming or just like a little bit more controversial. It was built into the contract to stop working with them. Um, and that can be anything like promoting anti-vax or anti-mask, anything like that. As a health company, you kind of want to go more for the caution type of thing. I'm trying to keep this as unpolitical as possible. So that could be a reason. For example, that influencer I mentioned earlier, or like that person we almost worked with, just like kind of being a nightmare on reality TV, that would be a reason. But yeah, there's a breadth of reasons, and that is why a morality clause is key to a contract, and you will learn that in legal aspects if you have not had it. Thank you, Teresa. I am the old guard who had Steve then.
Yeah, I can completely agree. In our contracts too, there's language that says like if they do anything that like hurts themselves, hurts the brand, hurts us, we can terminate. Yeah, just if they do anything bad, basically.
Sounds about right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't, Paige, I think we're out of time, if I'm remembering correctly. But I appreciate talking to you guys. It was fun. And thanks for everybody for your questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for your time. Those were all great questions, and I appreciate just being able to speak with you all today.
That's great. We can go ahead and stop the recording, but we can hang here in case anybody is able to stay for a few minutes before the next one. But the next one is going to be about the future of arts. And we have a couple of other alumni that are joining us for that too. So yeah. Louis and Kara, you're on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So folks can connect with you there. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And kudos to Dana.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely. Great job moderating there. It's always a little bit scary to jump into that. And you did that with absolutely incredible
Even
success.
with the sweeper going.
Yeah.